Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to season 2 of Conversations in Pop Culture. We're about to talk a little bit of MMA, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of clothing with the Panther Shelby Paris, who fights for LFC. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm proud to be on it.
Yeah, I'm very excited because obviously I like LFC. I got my LFC shirt on.
Oh, you
Round
too.
one by Tommy Bell. For those who are interested, it's available to purchase on lingeriefightingchampionship.com or LFC.com. Go buy the merch. Everybody go buy the merch. But anyway, there's a lot going on with you with LFC and wrestling, and I am curious how you got into MMA and wrestling and this entire promotion and all that stuff.
I mean, I've always been interested in MMA, even when I was little, because all the chicks are, in shape and they're hot. So why not? Um, but I also like it because it's very empowering, I guess you could say. So it's just I like it. I don't know why. I love doing it. It's a passion.
And so obviously you're a fan of it. So how did you even get involved? Because the MMA wrestling, which is LFC, is a very different style than something like the WWE or AEW. It's got more of a fighting, it's got more of a kickboxing feel to it. So how did you get involved in that entire section of wrestling? It's very similar to session wrestling, which has become bigger. Jen Thomas with Session Girls. And so how did that all come about? Because it is a very interesting segment, and also custom wrestling has gotten a lot bigger in recent years.
So I had what company is it? Oh, I did Evolved Wrestling, and Nikki Sequoia had called me out, so we wrestled. Obviously, it was a fair game though. I lost by 3 points, which I think is still crap, but but I love Nikki. She's so sweet. Um, so then after that, I don't remember who reached out to me specifically, but they told me to get a hold of Michael, who does the other LFC podcast thing, and he helped me get involved.
So let's talk about that. So obviously you go from Evolve Fight, which is adults, and that's
Mhm.
Ariel X's project and everything that she does. And obviously that's a whole interesting take on wrestling and what that company is doing in a lot of ways. And then you get into LFC. And so how does that work? Do you get a hold and just call them and say, hey, I'm interested? Or are you invited? Or how does that go? Or is there like a tryout? What exactly happened with you even just getting in the door first and foremost?
Um, I just told Michael that I was interested, and then I spoke with Sean and reached out to him, and then it just went from there. There's no like real for me there was no real head on head, whatever you want to call it, to see if I fit. um he welcomed me with open arms.
And one of the things that's unique about you is that some women come into this company and they just get first introduced as coming out fighting, and that's how that works. And then they're in the ring and they're doing what they're doing. And you sort of came in a very interesting way where you were introduced through the calendar.
Yeah, that
And,
that,
and,
that was
and
interesting.
and so I want to talk about this because this is super interesting. So obviously I'm a 90s kid. So I remember calendars of like all the musical bands and sports and all
Yes.
that stuff. And I know that you've done modeling, and obviously sort of for models, it's a big deal to be in a magazine or be in a calendar or be on a promotion type thing. And so what was that like for you from a modeling perspective to be involved in the calendar? And we're going to dive into the calendar and why it's important in a second. I'm purposely holding back because we do like cars, so I'm purposely holding back.
Well, that was actually one of my first calendar shoots. I have been wanting to do calendar shoots, but I never really had an opportunity. So I thought this was an amazing opportunity to do, and I'm really thankful that they allowed me to be a part of it.
And one of the things that's cool about this is that you're Shelby, that's your name, and you were, I think, taking shots with a '66 Shelby.
Yes.
So a Shelby Cobra, I might add. And if
Yeah.
anyone cars, a Shelby Cobra is a very cool car. It's a very particular type of Shelby.
Hmm.
They tend to be more expensive and faster and more muscular. And so what was that like doing that? Because it's a very cool thing. Obviously, it's somewhat of an inside joke, but it's also very fitting. And taking pictures next to really cool cars. You're obviously an attractive young woman, and your
Hmm.
name is Shelby. So what was that like in that entire thing?
So we were trying to come up with cars. First, we were originally going to do, I think it was with my friend's Noble, but his Noble had, I don't remember exactly what happened, but it wasn't working. So then, we started brainstorming. We're like, well, why don't we use a Shelby Mustang? And so one of my friends, that's his car. And he's like, yeah, you can use my car for the calendar shoot. And I was like, all right, well, let's go. So he at least got to see some of the behind the scene action. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm really thankful that he allowed us to use his car. Thanks, Shiny Bound.
And to even go further into this, because at this point you didn't have a fight yet. You
Hmm.
were sort of, I don't even know if you were on the website at this point.
I don't think
The
I was. Oh,
and
I don't know. That's a very good question.
this is why I'm curious. So obviously you're being introduced into the entire LFC
Yeah.
universe, I guess is how I'm going to dub it. And this is your first introduction. Obviously, you're Shelby. You're next to a nice Shelby. I think most people know when they see a Mustang, they see a Shelby Mustang, they know what it is, whether they know the value of it or not, or how massive.
Especially a Shelby Cobra.
Yeah, exactly. And most people understand it's a nice car and understand that. And so, what was that like being introduced in this way? Because it does make an impact,
I
and
thought it was
being in the
amazing.
calendar, and it is important because it's almost first impressions matter in many ways. And this was pre-fighting, before you were starting to fight. So, what was that like? Because it is important in many ways to sort of have a first starting image.
I thought it was amazing. It was it was very welcoming to be a part of the calendar. It was so unexpected, and they allowed me to be a part of it. And I lucky I got the Shelby Mustang. I'm just like thanking, the universe for that one. But it was I believe it was a good first impression because who's no one's gonna forget that. And I was on 2 months.
What were you saying? I missed it.
I was on the 2 months. I was on May and June.
And so, what is that even like for you? Because obviously, when people do calendar shoots, and usually it's 1 month and you're done. I tend to have a lot of sexy comic book calendars, but usually it's one character gets 1 month, and you obviously are on 2 months. So, what is that like, knowing that you have 2 months and that's out there, and that you're occupying a lot of space in a calendar, and you're occupying 1/6 of it.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I thought it was amazing. The girl for May, she normally introduces or welcomes all the newer models. She just embraces, girls and in loving arms, as loving as they can be. um, but she is very helpful with the LFC community because she's very helpful and insightful and helps tell models, hey, like this is what I do to keep my tops up or whatever. Remember to wear pasties, etc. She's like the LFC mom. Terry, that's what her name is, Terry. So it was just very welcoming. And then of course Leon had to be like, hey, I gotta introduce my fighter, his normal self. She's mine. I call dibs.
And obviously, the calendar is very playful, and people who like LFC love LFC, and people really enjoy it. And I mean, when I tweet about it, I get like 40,000 impressions in like 2 hours on my Twitter when I'm tweeting out about it. And so obviously this calendar sold out pretty quickly as well, and people who love it. So what is that like, that this calendar sells out quickly? People want it. You know, if you don't really get it within the first few days, even if at that, you know, you're not going to get it. And what is that like, that people actually want these calendars and seek them out and attempt to gain them, and knowing that they're seeing you and every other person in LFC?
I think it's amazing. I mean, I think I have somewhere. I do still have some Mustang calendars. Like, I don't blame them for wanting to collect them all.
Yeah, and I love it. And obviously, I like pretty girls in bikinis and sexy outfits. I think a lot
Who
of guys
doesn't?
do.
I think we all do, whether they admit it or not.
It's so funny because I'm a big comic fan of this company called Zenoscope, and they have all these sexy comic girls, and they actually have the largest female readership out of any comic book company right now. And it's crazy
Cool.
to think that a company that puts sexy girls on their comics, you know, it tends to attract a lot of female readers. It's awesome, and I love every second of it.
I mean, who wouldn't? Especially with anime.
Yeah, oh, it's amazing, and this is kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about. And we might get a little controversial, but LFC to some degree has somewhat of a negative stigma, where girls are obviously wearing less clothes fighting, but the athleticism, I feel, is very well done. And you have people like Selena, Katie Forbes, Ginny Valentine, who's Jen Thomas. I know I'm breaking kayfabe here. You have Sarah Brooks, Bella Inc., Allie Parker, and then several people who might have Midwest connections, and several people who may even have some WWE connections. And so what is that like? Because obviously it looks something very, very, if you're just looking at it on the surface, but when you actually enter it, it's really athletic. And I kind of want to break that stigma in many ways, because this is wrestling, and it's really well done wrestling. It's really well done fighting in MMA. So what is that like? Because as you stated, it's very empowering in many ways, I feel.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, regardless of what less clothes you're wearing, it really doesn't matter, because it is still women empowering. Like, we are embracing our bodies just how they are, curvy, fit, anyway. And that's really nice. It is nerve-wracking fighting some girls who are very experienced, but they are very helpful as well. So if they see something that you could, practice doing, they'll give you pointers or give you tips, which is very, very nice.
Yeah.
But it's still nerve-wracking.
And let's talk about that, because obviously we're going to get into your first fight in 1 second here, but LFC, I think they had 31 shows, or did they just have their 32nd? I get my numbers mixed up, because I know Booty Camp 2, that was LFC.
I think that's 31.
So they've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Again, I get my numbers mixed up. It's been around. I've seen a lot of it. I came in like 3 years ago, and everything's blurring together because of COVID. I don't even know what I had for breakfast.
31 though.
Yeah, I think it's 31 too. I don't even know what I had for breakfast this morning. So clearly.
I don't either.
So you and me are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the simulator, right? So, but what was that like coming into this company? Because as I mentioned, you have some big veterans who have been there for at least 15, 20 pay-per-views. And then they do a lot of things outside. They do a lot of session wrestling. There are people in LFC who have wrestled for big companies. I mean, Katie Forbes, Selena. Katie Forbes was in Impact. Selena's in MLW working for them. And then what is that like for you coming in, because you are new? And that there is a lot of really talented women who are killing it in other promotions and in other venues, and are doing great on the session wrestling scene and custom wrestling. And what is that like for you, both to say, hey, I'm in a really cool company, but oh snap, I'm also in a very competitive company, and this is real athleticism, and that this is, that type of environment where this is real. versus saying, there's some serious talent around me. And I'm just now getting into my first match and my first fight.
Honestly, it was really intimidating, but I am so thankful as with Jolene, just because she's so tough and she's so amazing to learn from. Um, she's a very genuine person, which is very nice to see. It's very rare.
So
um,
let's not jump too ahead into this because that's what we're going to get into. So let's
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about Jolene Hex because Jolene Hex has been with LFC for a while at this point.
she
She's
has.
obviously,
She's
I think,
badass.
she's got what?
She's badass.
She's scary. She could be very scary from my
Oh
understanding.
yeah, she
I'm
is.
sure she could take me, and I'm like 5'11" and like 220.
She could.
So so
She
so.
truly could.
Yeah, maybe I wouldn't put up a fight because that's a different discussion completely right there. But my mom, I would just crawl in the fetal position and suck my thumb, and then hopefully it'll be over quickly. But anyway, she's the European champ, and obviously she is a veteran. She wants somebody else's title, clearly. And what was that like? How did that fight first come up? I should ask because you're brand new and now you're fighting one of the top contenders in LFC. And what was that like going into it? Because I would imagine it'd be terrifying going into
Oh
your
yeah.
first match against a veteran.
Honestly, it was really terrifying, especially because it was my first fight ever on TV. Like, it's different with film, but like actually live broadcasting it is so nerve-wracking. And I was trying to hide it, but my face gives away everything. But the second I was on the ring, like I knew I had it. But she's a tough contender, and I don't know, it was great working with her, but man, she's a tough cookie.
So,
Like,
obviously now you're facing her, and what was that like? Even prepping up to go into the ring with her and getting ready for that fight because you find out you're fighting her, and then what was that entire prep up both on the mental side and the physical side? Because wrestling, MMA, all that stuff, I used to spar in martial arts, and there's a whole mental game to this, and then there's a whole physical game to it. And what was that like, even just prepping up for it? Because also you're live on pay-per-view, you're live on TV. A lot of people are watching. I don't know the exact numbers of who's watching LFC, but I know that I was tweeting out a lot about it, and a lot of other people were too. So a good amount of people must have been watching. So obviously, what was that like on that?
um, it's a lot of excitement and nervousness all in one. I'm honestly surprised why they paired her with another rookie, but at the same time, I'm so glad they did. But I can understand why she's upset about it. I mean, you saw that in the fight. But man, I mean, before the fight, there was like I practiced it with Coach Leon, and it's still nerve wracking. Even though you got the moves practice, like we practiced some cool moves, like Leon and I did, but it's still like, whew, nerve wracking, like so nerve wracking. Because like the excitement and nerves mixed together, it's not a good combo.
But at the same time, it's always good to be nervous.
Yeah,
You
it's the
know,
adrenaline. It gets going. You're like, yeah, I got this.
So before, when I was sparring and I was doing a little bit of competitions, I would always be nervous. And even now when I public speak and I present at anime and comic cons, every time I'm in front of like 200, 250 people, I'm like terrified. But it keeps you on your toes. And also, I would imagine that after the fight, and we're going to talk about the fight in a second because I love this fight. But I would imagine after the fight, you must have felt so good though, because it's like, oh man, now I did it, and now all these nerves were great, and I was there. So what was that like? We're getting to the fight because I'm curious.
um, I mean, the second I was onto the stage, I was fine. And afterward, I was fine too. But it's still like, you're like, oh, it's done. But oh man, did I, you start overthinking, you're like, did I get, did I do anything wrong? Like, what did I do? But I mean, it's all fun. I loved it. I have no complaints. I have no negative anything. It was so much fun.
And then I enjoyed the fight. I think most people did. Obviously, the fight was later on in the night, which was cool too. Obviously, I love the entire card as a
Waiting
person.
was horrible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what is that like? Because I was speaking to another wrestler and I don't know if you're familiar with ECWA Super 8 tournament, but it's a tournament where there's a first round and then the second round and then the finals. And when you are and he also did Kings of New York, which is a similar tournament, and said, oh, waiting between matches was horrific because you wrestle and then you get all upset and then you cool down and you got to reheat up again. And I would imagine that while technically, you sort of have to warm up and then you warm up too soon and all that stuff, like just the mental side of things. And then also it's kind of like, okay, where am I at in the card? How is this going to play out? Where's the crowd going to be? And all that stuff. Am I the cooler match? Am I the hot match? Because I think you were sort of the co-main event, or you were the
Yeah.
match right before Keith.
I was right before the main.
And so that's an interesting spot to be in too, especially as a rookie and new, because that's probably a very interesting experience for you because it's tough. It's a tough position to be in.
I mean, waiting in that back, I was so nervous. Like one of the girls was like, she was like, you can tell you're so nervous. I'm like, well, yeah, it's against Jolene. But they were so encouraging back there. And, it's fun. It was nice being back there because I got to meet a lot of the girls. But man, you cannot hide those nerves. And at least you can tell that the other girls are nervous too, which was so relieving to see. Like, because, normally people that have been in it for a while, you're like, oh no, they can't be nervous. No, everyone gets nervous. It's just how it is.
So, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. And also, LFC is interesting where they're running almost quarterly now versus, doing things monthly. And then they also took a hiatus. And, LFC 30 and LFC 31 were almost like a year apart from my understanding. And so it's kind of crazy because I think LFC 30 was during Mania week last year. And then
Or was it during the Sturgis Bike Rally?
maybe that was like the last one, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, that was in August. I only know because I'm from the area of Sturgis, and it's right during my birthday all the time. So imagine having your birthday during the Sturgis Bike Rally. It sucked because you can't do anything, especially when you're not 18. You can't like go to any concerts. You can't do anything. So it sucked. But the younger me got a little tainted because I saw a lot of ass and titties at a very young age, thanks to the rally. It's just one of those things, All right, it happened.
I got ruined when I was 7 watching Toonami on Saturday mornings, Outlaw Star. That show was not meant for a 7-year-old. And I've been corrupt ever since. So and I turned out fine. I'm doing all right. If anything, I'm probably doing better than most people, but that's not the point here. So,
Yeah.
we can talk about us being completely corrupted in a minute here, but let's talk about this fight because now let's get into the fight between you and Jolene because I thought that first round was very, very even in a lot of ways, where you two were sort of punching, feeling each other out, and then you sort of rushed her and put her into the corner. And then she rushed you back. And so what was that like? Because here we have an even fight and that sort of happened. And what was that like? Because you can give it and then you could also take it. and it was very cool. And I don't think people were expecting it. I don't think Jolene was expecting it. And
I don't think so either. She wasn't expecting me to push up on her boobs in the corner either. And I did it, or to spank her ass, but you know.
so let's talk about both of those
She taunted me.
Well, what was that like? Because definitely LC has that. I enjoy that. I'm not going to lie. I am a heterosexual, healthy male here, and I love the fact I didn't catch you feeling her up to some degree, but I did catch you spanking her ass, and I thought that was pretty funny. So
I got a kick out of it too. But I mean, she tried to run up on the ref. She had her guard down. You know, it was gonna happen. I'm sorry, but it was right there. She's got a nice butt, spankable.
Are you really sorry?
No.
But I really enjoyed it, because I thought it was funny. Part of the reason why I really enjoy LFC is because you get that stuff in there, and I like the playfulness. But even still, I loved it as almost a taunt in many ways. And because it definitely adds to it. You know, I'm a big comedy wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that, and I view this not necessarily as comedy wrestling, but definitely pushing the line. And so I enjoy that, and also I don't think she was expecting it. I also think that, you know, the mind game element of it, and also it's just fucking sexy as fuck.
I mean, yeah, and you know, near the end of the fight, I gave in. I had to. She's the champ. I wasn't going to take that away from her. Who would do that?
and what you gave in, she's got like an inverted like triangle lock with like some twerking involved.
I like choking. I can hold my breath. But I was like, you know what? You can have it. You're the champ. You can have it.
Because the second round ended relatively quickly. Obviously, you tap out. But I think one of the things that's super interesting about this fight in particular is that first round was evenly matched. It definitely was mind games. And it was this idea that I think you brought a fight to the champion.
Yep, I did. Someone has to.
Yeah, whether you won or you didn't win, I think that you brought a fight to the champion that nobody was expecting. I mean, I'm the first one to say, well, okay, we have the veteran and we have a rookie. You know, I didn't think it was going to be a squash, but I didn't expect it to be a bull rush fight in that first round. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm stating anything that, you know, is out of bounds here per se. And I'm like, oh, snap, this is an even first round. Like, where did this come out of? This is somebody's first fight. You don't expect it. They're not going up against another rookie. They're going up against somebody, and it's kind of that situation. Like, oh, snap. Like, is this going to go for 3 rounds? I have to go to work tomorrow.
You know, I have some MMA background, not as much as she does. I think I've only have like a year under my belt, so I'm still very, very inexperienced. But I can hold my own. I'm feisty. That's why I'm known as the Panther. Like, I let the claws out.
And even to go further, because I think that moving forward, people are actually going to have to say, oh, snap. Like, you're not a pushover. No. You're not, you know, to be looked over. You're not, you know, oh, this is a rookie. You're a legitimate competitor, and that you can go. And that if I'm LFC and I'm the Prez and all that stuff, I mean, they have to figure out saying, okay, who are we gonna put you against? And whoever your opponent is, they have to fully understand that you can go. And that, you know, if you're unleashed and you could hold your own against Jolene, you know, if you're going up against Cross or Jenny, you know, Valentine, or you're going up against Shea Manzani, and there's a few others. I'm out of ideas here. Ali Parker, Katie Forbes is a good one. I like saying Katie Forbes' name. I love Katie Forbes. That's like that. She's got a nice ass. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to interview Katie Forbes. So if anyone wants to make that happen for me, I would greatly appreciate it because it would be such a good interview. Talking about her career in India, oh, that'd be phenomenal. But I digress right here. Also, her twerking on my show would be phenomenal. Also, that's a different discussion. I'll make an NFT out of that, and I'll retire afterwards. But anyhow,
Oh, are
I'll
you
make
into
an
crypto
NFT.
too?
What?
Are you into crypto too?
I have a little Ethereum, I actually sold my Bitcoin to buy a Lego set, but that's a whole different discussion.
I I am a brand ambassador for a crypto company. When you said NFTs, that's why I was like, what? You do them too?
I don't own any NFTs. I don't get NFTs. I get Ethereum, I get Bitcoin a little bit. I just don't get NFTs. Also, NFTs directly compete with my business that I'm involved in.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say you
I
should
am
join mine and collect all mine. You know, they're kind of like Pokemon cards.
I am in the business of buying and selling Pop Funkos and comic books that
Mhm.
are exclusive, very much limited to NFTs, but they're the actual physical good. So an NFT is a
Oh,
direct competitor.
yeah, it's crypto. It's a I'm having a brain fart. It's on the internet.
No, I know
It's
what
not
an
physical.
NFT is. I know exactly what an NFT is. It's the exact same thing what I'm doing. It's just not the physical good
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
of what
yeah.
I'm
I get
doing.
what you're saying.
And I just don't believe that I get cryptocurrencies. I
Uh-huh.
do not get an NFTs, and I think NFTs just I don't get the value proposition with an NFT versus something like Ethereum or a Bitcoin. Like I get Ethereum and a Bitcoin, I
Mhm.
don't get an NFT, and I just don't see the marketplace for it as a tradable commodity. But Bitcoin, especially clean Bitcoin versus dirty Bitcoin, completely get that. So whole different discussion.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
We'll
love how
talk about this later.
I love how we just went from LFC all the way to NFT. So clearly this is how my show goes. Best interview ever. Yeah, I love it.
Um, yeah, no, I mean we can talk crypto later, but yeah, no, I'll help you understand NFTs. I didn't see the value of it until I started, producing my own. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool because you can have your own porn collection connected to your wallet, basically. You know, it's better than downloading it.
This is so bad. This is so bad for so many reasons. I'm totally gonna get demonetized now on YouTube for this, but it's so bad. But you get it back to LFT. Then we can talk about NFTs. I promise. So one of the things that I also love about this fight is that I think it's gonna get you attention, and I think that the people now in LFC now need to fully understand exactly who you are in this fight, and that you could run
It
and hang with the champ.
better.
And it's going to be so interesting when your next fight is and who you're going to fight, because obviously if you could go with Jolene and you could hold her in a pretty even round,
Mhm.
then I'm curious what you're going to do against a variety of other people who have different styles and have more of a brawling style than more of Krav Maga, or have more of a grappling style than brawling. And I just think that people's eyes have to be on you, and even the LC board and the Prez have to be on you on who you're booking with. So what is that like, knowing that you sort of showed what you can do in a lot of ways, and that your next fight's going to be very interesting because of that.
Well, I know that I am going to the Sturgis bike rally one. I think they've announced it.
That's 3 shows, right?
Yes, and it's 3 shows. I know two of my contenders. I don't know the third one yet. I have to wait and see. Um, but that's gonna be exciting. I am not as versed in wrestling or jiu-jitsu. So that's gonna be interesting. But I've been practicing. I have a trainer for the jiu-jitsu part because that's tough. I give credit to all those jiu-jitsu people. Like that's a lot of groundwork and leg power. You're like, oh God, I didn't know I had that muscle in me.
Yeah, I know very little grappling. I know how to armbar, shoulder lock, and ankle lock, and that's as far as I go on the
I know
ground.
leg lock, but that's it.
Like a leg ankle lock. And I know how to armbar somebody really efficiently, and I know how to sweep people, and I love
Yeah,
sweeping people. Sweeping people's fun.
because they don't expect it.
If you know how to sweep somebody, put an armbar on somebody in like 5 seconds, oh, that's
Yep.
fun.
Yeah,
That's
it
fun.
is.
Learning how to break people's arms is fun. but this is such a so you're talking about Sturgis. So obviously that is your home territory. Sturgis is a crazy place that I think is in South Dakota, from my
Yes.
understanding.
Yep.
Obviously Sturgis is sort of around Mount Rushmore. I think
It's 30 minutes away.
it's pretty
So
close.
I'm from Spearfish, South Dakota, which is 10 minutes away from Sturgis. So yeah, it's close to everything.
My latest job, my first assignment was dealing with a legislative proposal from South Dakota. So that was my latest job. That was maybe like 2 years ago. That was my first legislative provision that I dealt with. So I know all about South Dakota. It's a fascinating place.
And yeah, it has its moments. I mean, the Black Hills is the prettiest part. From living there, I lived there for 19 years. So like ever since I was a baby until I moved after I graduated. Like on the east side, no offense, like to the east side people of South Dakota, it's just really bland on that side. Like the Black Hills is so beautiful. I absolutely, my heart is in the Black Hills. I absolutely love it there.
And I've never been to South Dakota.
You should.
I lived in DC. I've lived in DC for 4.5 years. I've lived in New York for most of my life. Went to college in New York. Stayed mostly in Westchester. And then I'm now living in Connecticut. I just moved back about 5 months ago, and so obviously I haven't been out west. And I don't know if I ever will, because I like being, in the East Coast. I like being around New York City. It's the greatest city in the world for a reason. There's so much stuff there. But talking about Sturgis, so what is that like growing up there, and what is it going to be like with LLC? Because they have been there before, and it's sort of a crazy entity with bike rallies and everything that's going on, and the concerts. And my understanding of Sturgis is that it's kind of Las Vegas in South Dakota with motorcycles.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. So, sorry, I have the hiccups.
I know all about that. I had the hiccups for 6 days once, so I completely sympathize.
So I was there's a town called Deadwood, and that is very, very similar to Las Vegas. And that's a very small town. I don't know the population at the top of my head, but then you go 10 minutes in, and then there's Sturgis. And Sturgis has a population of 5,000 people, maybe a little bit less. And then you put 1 million people in a small ass town. Like, it is hectic. It is so hectic. But it's fun. It's entertaining. I don't know. I haven't been to South Dakota in like 5 years. I haven't been to Sturgis Rally in like 10. So I don't know how it's going to be for for this one. I have no clue. So it's going to be an experience.
I know that the last time LLC was at Sturgis, it was crazy, and that it was a very, very interesting experience.
It's always crazy in Sturgis, though. You gotta expect it.
I know that a bunch of people came out in motorcycles. I know motorcycles were sort of around the ring. I know that it was a very interesting experience, and I know that I think they only did 1 or 2 shows the last time, and I know that they're doing 3.
Yes.
I know that you can pre-order it now for like $25, which essentially means you're saving a good chunk of money.
Oh yeah, you are.
You're saving about $15-$16, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know the price ranges. I just tell my fans, hey, go buy it here.
I think LFC 31 was about $20 if you didn't get the discounted rate. And so obviously for the 3 shows, it's $25
That's
right
a good
now.
deal. You're correct.
You could pre-order it. I know it's on the website. We could also get this shirt. Round one by Tommy Bell. I'm not even paid to say that. So except they did send this to me for free. So this is my obligation, and hopefully LFC's watching it and they remember sending this to me for free. If they want to send me another one, guys, I'm absolutely down for it because my mom loves this shirt, and what I mean by that is she doesn't like it, which means I'm wear it all the time. Anyway,
yeah, we need to get you some spare shirts.
Just send me just like 20 of them, and I'll wear them all the time. All my other shirts, just throw them out. It'll be great. It'll be absolutely wonderful. But anyhow, one of the things that so I don't know if you can announce who you're fighting yet. If you can't, don't worry about it because I don't want to get you in trouble or me in trouble. I'm already in enough trouble as it is. So.
Honestly, I am not sure if I can, so I just won't say. But one of them I did fight when I did a few sessions with Lucha Girls, and she's part of Lucha Girls. That's the only information I can really give, because I don't know if I can say who, because what if they can't attend? I can't.
Right. So I'm not going to push it. So I am curious to actually talk about session wrestling because Jen Thomas was on. And I want to redo Jen Thomas. She was on my other show. And so was Allie Parker. And so obviously session wrestling, custom wrestling, I'm a big believer that customization is the way of the future. I believe that three things are the way of the future. I think that on demand is the way of the future. I think that custom wrestling and custom just in general is the way of the future as well. And I also think things like live are the way of the future. And so what is that like to do session wrestling and custom wrestling matches? Because there's a lot of talented wrestlers out there. And sometimes, and we see it with WWE, we see it with AEW, where sometimes we don't get wrestlers getting matches against each other. We want to see that, or we want to see certain things happen in a match. And it's nice to see that stuff. And also, this stuff is very much on demand. Things like clips for sale or mini video or OnlyFans or and I'm sure there's others. I Want Clips, I think, is another one.
Yeah.
Obviously, that type of stuff as content distributing is great, or Patreon even is amazing for this, and it's allowing a lot of people to become content distributors. I'm a content distributor right now with everything I'm doing on my podcasting. Mm-hmm. And so what is that like for you to get to do that and have those matches and also have people say, hey, I want to see you versus this person, and whether LFC or another company is not booking it, if the fan wants to pay for it, they can get it now. Because that's gotten bigger in the last 3-4 years.
So, customs in general are really fun to make. Right before I did my first LFC match, I was doing some matches for Lucha Girls, which is very terrifying only because I'm not a very good shit talker. It takes me some time to start talking shit because I feel guilty if I talk shit. I have a guilty conscience, but it's getting better. It's getting better.
Shit talker. I get into wars with people on Twitter. I get into wars on investing with people, and oh my god, we go hard. Admins have to step in between me and people sometimes. It's sick. Because I'm like a top debater. I'm like a 90-degree black belt. I know how to trap my enemies so efficiently. And then then when they start being disrespectful, my favorite line is saying, "Hey, are we gonna be disrespectful? Because I got 15 bullets loaded up, ready to shoot." And I'm a shit talker like nobody else. And when people let me go, I go hard, and I continue too. But continue, please.
But I am getting better at shit talking. But when I did those customs, it was so hard to shit talk because I'm not used to it. So it took me a few tries. I'm like, okay, I got this. And a lot of people don't realize that I like pain. So if you hit me, I'm just gonna laugh at you. And people think that I'm not being serious, but I am. I think it's hilarious. Um,
Pain is therapy for some people.
yeah, yeah. So it can be harder to put on a very serious bitchy face because I'm not bitchy. I try to be, but I'm not. Um, I'm getting better though. It's it's just taking some time, you know. Um, but but when I did my fight with Jolene, I had a little bit more practice under my belt, so I could shit talk better, and it came more fluently. But with Lucha Girls, it was so hard. Like, shout out to them, like, for dealing with me. But it was fun. I loved working for their company. It just, I've gotten better at my shit talking, so I can't wait to fight with them again.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, I've picked up custom wrestling matches, and there's a misconception about custom wrestling because some of it tends to be more adult and others of it does not tend to be that way. Some of it is legitly just you want to see a match, and there's nothing intrinsically wrong. It's just that it has a negative stigma because people don't understand that content distributing is just the way of the future. Things like clips for sale, I want clips, Patreon, OnlyFans, all that stuff is not pornographic or adult in nature. It can be. It doesn't have to be. And so obviously that's something that I do want to mention because it does have a stigma attached to it, and I think that stigma is completely wrong. And I think that there's been a very bad advertising campaign around that.
Yeah, I mean, the adult industry itself is very stigmatized. But the best way I explain it to people, it is like taboo Hollywood. Like, you don't bash Hollywood performers for doing sex scenes or even fake sex scenes during like R-rated movies, but
Hey,
yet somehow,
you don't bash that what was it, like that person who played like a Disney character who sold like $1 million
yeah,
and fucked up OnlyFans?
yep,
Like, what the fuck? I
yep,
mean, I didn't participate because I was just like, this is not relevant to me, you know. But my entire thing is that, like, and that's what fucked up OnlyFans. Now it's
mhm,
like there's limits on OnlyFans because it was horrific. It was fucked up OnlyFans. I'm on OnlyFans for a different reason, and then I moved actually out of OnlyFans because I was actually building an entire class on OnlyFans. Because I view it as a content distributor. I don't view it as a what it's primarily used for. Where that it's like Patreon to me. It's just easier and cheaper than Patreon in many ways. So that's how I view it.
yeah. I mean, OnlyFans is OnlyFans. I mean, you can do whatever you want on it. It's just, as someone who's also in the adult industry, I'm so used to being stigmatized where I'm like, I don't care at this point. Like it's just, it
So
happens. I
let
just
me ask
wish it
let
would
me ask
stop.
the question then, because the thing is that LFC attracts a variety of people.
Mhm.
Everybody comes into LFC differently, so obviously it has a nice mixture of all those people. And I'm not going to name certain people for a reason because they don't want to be named. They would prefer to use their LLC name, and I completely get it.
Mhm.
But if you go deep digging enough in LFC and type in enough names, you're going to find out who's been in that company and who hasn't been, and
Mhm.
that's completely fine. One of the things that though is that given that you're used to being stigmatized, and it must be very liberating to fight in that company because now you don't really care either way, and it's freedom. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore on who I interview. I don't. In which that I dictate what my audience wants. If my audience gets offended by this interview, they can deal with it on their time, not mine. I chose
Yes.
purposely to reach out to you to interview you because I don't care, because
Mhm.
I'm choosing my audience and I get respect for that from a lot of people. I speak to people on the left, the right, and everybody in between. We actually talk about comic books, wrestling, pop culture, and I choose who I speak to. And if you get offended by that, that's your problem. It's not mine. So I would imagine for you, it must be very liberating to say, I don't give a fuck anymore because I'm used to it and I'm going to go do whatever I want to do. and you're probably making more money because of it, and you probably don't lose sleep over it.
I mean, honestly, being in the adult industry, you learn to have thick skin. And it's actually, no matter how much negative stuff there is portrayed with the industry, you can't really rely on media because media is always negative. For me, it's been very helpful on finding myself. Before the industry, I was very insecure. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, and now I'm more comfortable with myself than I have been my whole life, which is not something a lot of people can say unless you've found yourself, or or the industry has helped you, or something has somehow helped you. Like, it's just, I thank the industry for that. I can't say anything negative.
So I can't say I'm in the industry because I'm not. I have no desire.
You just have an OnlyFans, that's all.
Hey, you know what? I left it. I haven't touched it. It's all messed up because I'm actually going a different route. That's actually going to be probably. Yeah, totally excuses. This body is just killing me. But anyway, I forget the word, but it's people who are attracted to people's brains. I
think it's sapiosexual.
Yeah, something like that.
Don't quote me. I could be wrong, but I think it's sapo.
It's something like that. So I was listening to a podcast, and we said, hey, somebody should go create a dating app for just people who are attracted to people's brains. And you need to have like a 4.5 GPA and like have like an IQ of like 150 to be on the dating app. So
it's actually more common than you think, though. Yeah. It's more common than you think. Like, people being sapiosexual, being attracted to someone's personality or brain or whatever. It's more common than we realize. I still have the hiccups.
So I'm not going to let anybody know what I'm attracted to, and I already know people are thinking in their heads.
Brains and butts, you like the two B's.
Everybody's got negative views immediately, and I purposely dropped that for a reason. So I know my political career is over after this. So I've come to the conclusion, which is okay. Instead, I'll just go make a fuckload of money, and I'll go buy an island, and I'll make myself the mayor of the island. But that's not the point. A mayor of one, and it'll be a tough election to win, I promise. I'll probably lose to a palm tree. But anyway.
Or a fish.
Yeah. I'll lose to a fish or a shark. Fishes are our friends, right?
Yeah, not food.
Not food, exactly. So obviously, there's a lot more we could talk about, and I'm going to let you explain NFTs.
Well, I mean, for NFTs, you basically have to think of them as, like, you collect Pokemon cards, right?
I collect comic books, Pokemon cards. Oh, I know what an NFT is. I just have never heard of an argument because I'll explain my position on NFT. I don't understand the marketplace for an NFT. So I understand the idea of what an NFT is, where it's a digital limited commodity that has value because there's only 100 tokens produced of it. I get that component just as an example, and stop me if I'm wrong. And that essentially somebody creates it, they sell it, and then a position of it goes back to the artist. And then supposedly because there's limited numbers of them, they go up in value because of supply and demand, and that's how it is. It's almost like if 100 cards of Pokemon were created, those cards go up in value because there's only 100 of them. I get that. I don't get the marketplace on how to sell it. So that's where I get lost in the demand for it, because when everybody's producing an NFT, so WWE created the Undertaker NFTs just recently. And I'm saying to myself, what happens when they create John Cena's NFT? What happens when they create Triple H's NFT next month? And all of a sudden, they create 150 superstars NFTs, and each of them has 500 NFTs. Now that's where I have an issue versus a comic book that has only 250 copies produced, and that's the materials I deal with it on the physical goods side. So like that's where I get confused because the marketplace for my comic stuff is eBay, Facebook Marketplace. I could take that into a comic shop. I don't know where you sell an NFT. And that's where I get lost with this, especially when everybody's producing them. I feel like, I could technically right now create an NFT of this podcast,
Yeah,
and then
you could. It depends on the marketplace. So the company I'm with, which is Cumrocket, they have their own cryptocurrency. And not a lot of the NFT marketplaces have that going for them at all. And the way they did the NFT, so it all depends on the artist. So like if I put out an NFT, there's only 10 available. I won't resell it. If it gets resold, it's not because of me reselling it. It's because it's like an eBay transaction, and they're upping up the price because they want their money back. Whatever. They don't want my collectible anymore. Fuck them. I don't care. Sorry, I probably wasn't supposed to cuss, but
you can curse. I don't give a shit.
I don't know how YouTube rules are.
I don't care because I'm not making money on YouTube and I don't care, and I don't think they're gonna give a shit either way.
Yeah. So I mean, it just depends on the marketplace itself. Like I've been a part of a few other NFT companies, and I personally didn't see the value of their company because they didn't treat a lot of the models correctly. They didn't do a lot of things correctly. So I was very picky on who I chose, and I'm really glad that I chose the Cumrocket brand because they aren't on the ETH network. They're on the Binance network, which means it's cheaper gas fees. I'm assuming you know what gas fees are.
Yeah, I know what fees are and all that stuff.
So,
I don't know the technical terms, but I understand fees and trading and stuff. When you buy and sell, there's fees associated, and obviously those fees have come down tremendously.
Oh yeah,
in the last 5 years.
Oh yeah. So, and that's another reason why I like it too, because they're one of the first marketplaces on the Binance chain, Binance Smart Chain, that have adult content. Because they're actually creating something better than OnlyFans, but in crypto. And that's the main reason why I chose them, because it didn't make sense to me. All these other companies with the NFTs, I'm like, this makes no logical sense as a creator why I would want this, but it made more sense with what Cumrocket is doing. I'm like, oh wow, okay, this makes more sense. Like I can do this because I just recently posted I think it was a 5 or 10 minute video onto their site. So it's like I can't do that anywhere else. Like it's you can't. It's hard to you get what I'm saying.
So see, I'm on the opposite side of this. So I'm a big comic book guy, and
Yeah.
things like an Ultimate Fallout 4.
Hey, they have anime on there too.
So I'm a big I have an Ultimate Fallout 4, which is Miles Morales, and that book is anywhere a $400 book to, depending on the grade on it, it could be like a $1,200 to $1,600 book once it's graded physically. And those things trade every day on eBay essentially, and you buy and sell it. And so for me, my entire business practice is that I buy comics for less money than what I sell them for on eBay, and then I move that money either into an S&P fund, into a stock that produces me a dividend, or I move it into some crypto, like an Ethereum or a Bitcoin. And so with NFTs,
I mean, you can do that with NFTs too.
So, but with NFTs, I just don't get the marketplace of it, and that's my issue. Is that my goal has always been in which that if I'm doing equity plays, my goal, I need to understand the exit, and that's my problem with NFTs is that that's not clear to me. I don't think I'm the only one who feels that way.
No, you're not. You're not the only one.
What my problem is that it's the exit, because I get long holding. Like I have Apple stock. I'm holding that baby, and I've done very well with it in the last 5 years, but my goal is to hold that almost forever and then at some point I will sell it, but I'm hoping to sell for a lot more. There's a bunch of stocks that I've owned that I bought very cheaply, and then I've just bought L Brands, which is Victoria's Secret. I bought that thing for $18. It's now like 67. So my exit I understand my exit is that I can sell that on, an exchange. That's my problem with NFTs is that I don't understand the exit, and I feel like the exit isn't there yet. And
I think
so,
I think it depends on the NFT. Like I know with I don't know about the other companies, but I know with CumRocket I think if you have an NFT, I may be completely wrong, but I think I just read this that if you have an NFT, you also if you hold it, you also get cryptocurrency back. I know if you hold one of their tokens, the Cummies token, that you get 2.5% of every sell, which is actually really, really amazing. But for NFTs, I think you get a percentage as well. So even if you exit, you still have some coins. I'll
so,
look into it
so
more for you and send it to you because I'm pretty sure I read that if you hold an NFT, you get
I understand
value.
from NFTs that on the creation side. And what I understand is that if you create an NFT and then you sell it, you get a percentage.
Well,
But
not as
also,
a creator. I think as a holder, you still get it too. I'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure
because again,
you did.
this entire thing is that I invest in things that I understand, and
Yeah,
so I've done very well in the stock market. I've done very well with my Ethereum. I've done well with my Bitcoin. I bought my Lego Sion with my Bitcoin.
yeah.
Best purchase I've ever made. That Lego set is beautiful. So I mean, technically looking back, that Lego Sion, I haven't even built it yet, and it makes me happy. It's a beautiful $380 Lego set, and it's a beautiful Lego set, worth every penny that I sold my Bitcoin for because it makes me happy. But one of my things is that I understand basic cryptocurrency like Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin. I get those. I'm not like in love with them per se, but
Yeah.
I have small positions in that. With NFTs, I don't understand it, and so the fastest way for me to lose money is by backing something I don't understand, and so I typically avoid it, and my strategy is working. And so I'm not. I get cryptocurrency. I get decentralization. I think that to some degree, cryptocurrencies nothing's going to replace the dollar. I feel,
No.
but
Um,
certain things will affect it. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is becoming the new gold.
I mean, especially with what Elon had done. Did you get one of their altcoins, the fuck Elon, after he did the whole you can't buy a Tesla with Bitcoin anymore?
I stay away from anything like
Oh,
dog.
you don't do altcoins at all?
I don't even touch that because Dogecoin. I don't. Dogecoin is whatever. I just don't think that those track records are very good. I think that
No, but it's some altcoins because they're known, as pump and dumps. It's easy to pump them because then you can dump them. Kind of
one of
like
the
your
things
ex-girlfriends.
one of the things that's going on right now is that John McAfee is actually being investigated for a pump and dump scheme. And Elon is very, very, very careful on what he says, and he also has a lot of money to fight battles. But Elon has taken a lot of losses. There was a reason why he wasn't the CEO and president of Tesla for 5 years. That was an FEC ruling because he mentioned something about 420 and securing funding, and obviously that affected the stock. And so Dogecoin, depending on what's going on and that SNL stuff, I don't know where the Federal Exchange Commission is going to come down on it, but clearly it's complicated. And so I stay away from a lot of people who are pushing things like that. Mark Cuban's pushing it, and I get very nervous when people are like that pushing.
The coins that a lot of major people push, I stay away from because they are kind of persuading the market, and I don't agree with that.
And so, it's just super interesting. I completely I understand crypto. I just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
get NFTs. It's not my thing, and
I
we are so far away from LFC now.
Yeah, I sent you on Twitter a link to their white paper that kind of explains it better. Because
Oh
I'm
boy, white
horrible
people.
at explaining NFTs, but I can explain them to girls just fine. But it's harder in a technical aspect for me because I'm still learning. That's why I'm like, I'll just send you the white paper because I don't
I
know.
get it. I get that NFTs are here to stay. Don't think that I don't.
Oh, you're
I
good.
fully understand that NFTs are here to stay.
Yeah,
Whether I buy an NFT or not, I probably am more Ethereum oriented. I'm more Bitcoin oriented,
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and I just bet on ponies that I understand. That doesn't mean that
Oh, no, that makes sense
and
completely.
also my business model, and it works. I mean, when my margins are very good on eBay right now, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the way I see it for everybody who's interested, and I have an entire podcast talking about all this stuff, and so I'm going to pump my own podcast. It's called the Comic Book Investor Market. I made a video this morning talking about it. I think I made a video this morning talking about it. Talking about comic book insurance of all things. So obviously I tend to go X, and I like to actually hold the physical good versus the digital good of it. But I get it. But also, I think the NFT market is just way too early. I think it's way too early, and I think that there's a bunch of good actors and there's a bunch of bad actors. And I mean, I think this is 5 years too early, in my opinion,
Yeah, I
on
mean,
what I know about this.
it's still so new, so we shall see how it goes.
So obviously, you just covered a lot of stuff. I love your stuff with Lauren Phillips. I love Lauren
Oh
Phillips.
yeah.
You can drop that in there.
Oh yeah.
If I could, I would totally make a pass at Lauren Phillips. I am not
He's a
hacking.
babe. I don't blame you.
He's a freaking redhead and just
He likes the
fantastic.
butts, the BBs, the braids and butts.
Oh my God, just perfect, just perfect. I am nowhere near that. I understand my
And she's
level.
from the East Coast, so that's another reason why.
I completely understand my level. So on that note, though, I'm going to let you self-promote. Actually, I want to talk about COVID with you
Okay.
because obviously LLC has been affected by COVID. You do a lot of modeling. You're part of the adult industry. And so how has COVID affected you? Because doing things in LLC is very different at this point. And I know you're new to it. Doing things in modeling is different because of COVID. And things are now starting to come back, but where do you think things are going? Because obviously they're not going to be the same as they once were.
Um, Honestly, the adult industry has boomed a lot from COVID. I mean, there were a few setbacks, but it has boomed. I mean, the performers get tested, obviously every 2 weeks for STDs, but now for COVID, you get tested every 24 to 48 hours. So if you go on set, you better have a 24-hour test.
Yeah, because you don't
Um,
want to be the person that infected the entire
yeah,
set.
yep. And I got COVID from being on set once. But it was kind of my own fault. I think I was on an amateur set, so it was my own fault for getting too excited and not checking the date on the COVID test. But also, I don't know, I don't know what people do outside after they get tested, because you have that 24-hour grace period. You're like, what were you home? What did you do? You never know. So I can't fault the person for the whole COVID situation, but I will tell you, catching COVID sucked. It sucked so badly. I couldn't work for 8 weeks because it was still in my system. It was horrible. Do not recommend it. And the body aches hurt so bad. They are worse than the flu. Like, you literally feel like every single joint in your body is going to fall apart. You're like, oh my God, is this gonna stop? Go away. Stop the
So,
pain.
so, 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 so where do you think it's going with that and even entertainment? Because obviously with wrestling, shows are a lot more limited. Obviously, Comic Cons are sort of starting to come back, but for the last 18 months, there's been no shows. Big shows like San Diego aren't happening, and a bunch of shows are saying they're happening, but I'm not going to a Comic Con show. I'm not going to a wrestling show so quickly. And I'm fully vaccinated. It's just that I don't want to jump into the frying pan so quickly. I want to let things settle, and it's not that my neighbor's not going to be vaccinated. It's not that we're not going to wear masks, or maybe we aren't going to wear masks. I don't know what's going to happen from all this stuff with the mandates, but obviously I'm saying, hey, I'm going slow into this stuff where I want to see what happens with a lot of these shows, what protocols are being put in place. I mean, look at I don't know what's going to happen at Sturgis, for instance. I mean,
I mean,
obviously, where do you think it's going? Because I'm curious, because you have more of a, I guess, inside looking out, and I have an outside looking in approach.
it's still very strict. Like, I know almost every single, I think even at this last one, you had to be COVID tested, and they check your temperature. They take a lot of steps to ensure people's safety. So I think it'll be fine as long as you either have your card that you've been vaccinated, you still wear a mask even if you've been vaccinated, because you never know. There's so many different strains, you never know. I just, as long as people take the precautions that they feel comfortable with, what they prefer to do, then it should be fine. But obviously we don't want an overcrowd, so you're limited on who can go in. But I mean, I think a lot of people are fed up with being at home, so we shall see how it turns out. And I know a lot of bikers don't give a fuck. But you know what? As long as they stay 6 feet away from me, I don't care. You can give a fuck by yourself. I don't care. Like, they're tough. They're a tough crowd.
So that's kind of funny in a lot of ways. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's kind of like how the restaurant situation is now. People still want you to wear a mask, and they still want you to be temped, which is you are trying to be as safe as possible. And I'm pretty sure Sturgis will do the same. But also, it's with a lot of bikers. I truly just don't think they care, because it's bikers. They don't care. God bless them. That's all I could say. Like, they're just bikers, There's a few that are safe, there's a few that aren't. They want to party. It's a party week. That's just how it's gonna be. As long as the girls are safe, I don't care.
So on that note, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with you. I know that you're in a lot of different industries, between LLC, the adult industry, modeling, doing some other stuff, obviously NFT stuff, and maybe we'll do a part 2, and you'll try to convince me to buy some NFTs. It's a long road, and I think a lot of people are gonna have a hard time doing that for me. But
I'll
anyway,
have one of my friends watch this and be like, "Give me some pointers. Help me influence him."
So on that note, though, I do want to give you an opportunity to self-promote yourself. So obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. So where can people find you? Where can people support you? I don't know if you have a Patreon, an OnlyFans, Cook for Sales. I know you got a ManyVid. I did my homework.
He doesn't have an OnlyFans.
So obviously, where can people find you on social media? So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook pages are big. Also, I know you have a ManyVids.
Yes.
And a variety of other things as well that I probably don't know that you have. But please tell us where people can find you.
So I actually try to make it as easy as possible. So my Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I think any kind of social media that I have, you look up Real Shelby Paris, you'll find me. I try to make it as simple as possible. And my OnlyFans, so I have 2. So I have my free and my paid. So my free one is obviously onlyfans.com/Shelby Paris. But my paid one is onlyfans.com/Real Shelby Paris. See, I make it easy. And then obviously my ManyVids is shelbyparis.manyvids.com. I make it as simple as possible. If you Google me, that's the easiest way to find me. Google's your best friend when finding me.
And so on that note, I'm saying it with everybody. Obviously, you should go support people. Supporting people is important, obviously. There's many ways that you can support Shelby Paris.
Just Google. Google's easy.
But in all seriousness, and I've been saying this, obviously, if you like what we hear, obviously, I'm sure that you can go on Lucha Girls and pick stuff up there, and that's a way, their clips, you can go on mini vids. If that suffices you, there's a lot of variety. I'll leave it at that. Hey, guys, it's research. It's research. I'm a good Christian boy. It's complete research.
Yeah. Do your research.
Complete,
It's healthy for
complete.
you.
There's nothing nefarious in my head here. I can't even keep a straight face when I say that. But in all seriousness, you have to support people financially. That means buying their merch, buying their clips, buying their products. That means following them on social media. It is super important right now, especially with COVID. But I will say this. If you are in a financially hard time at the moment, one of the things that you should do first and foremost is make sure you are financially okay. Make sure you have your house paid for and you're paying your rent, you're paying your mortgage, food, shelter, water, electricity. If you got wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, make sure they're okay. If you got kids, make sure your kids are okay. Your pets are okay. Also make sure you're prepared for the next month afterwards as well, because things are going on in life, and while things are turning around in this country, in the U.S., and if you're watching internationally, I'm sure things are turning around wherever you are as well, unless you're in India or Canada, apparently, which is going backwards. I just found that out about 2 hours ago. But even still, make sure that you are prepared, because while things are getting better, it is a long road out of hell. And so if that's the case, you have to follow people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, free OnlyFans, TikTok. That's a big one. All the cool kids are on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I'm on TikTok too.
I have a TikTok. This is a TikTok. Very cool. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
I don't know. Just be happy. Enjoy life. I don't know what else to say. You put me on the spot.
Well, I'll take the final word. I enjoyed this interview, everybody. And again, I really don't care if it offends anybody. I'm at that stage. I am legitimately going to get a steak in an hour. So I legitimately do not care. And I speak to whoever I want to speak to. And I thoroughly enjoyed this interview talking about LFC.
And
Evolve, which is an awesome company for those who don't know as well. And we didn't really touch much upon that, as well as NFTs and Sturgis and a variety of other things. And we should do a part 2 eventually.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice chatting with you. I really enjoyed this.
I am not like the LFC podcast. I am completely.
Oh yeah. No, everyone's cool. I love it.
And so absolutely, probably we're going to do a part 2. And I cannot thank my guest, Shelby Paris, enough for being on. And obviously, you should go support her and buy a bunch of stuff and just go spend like $900 on many bits.
Yes, I love that.
I don't know if you would like to add anything to that.
No, I mean, any kind of support. I don't even care if you just follow me on Twitter. Entertain me. I don't care. I love everyone.
And there we go. I think that's a wrap.